Good evening and welcome to TRUTalk. I'm GamerDad, joined by GrindheadJim, and our special guest, AznAnimeDude. I want to make sure I say that right. So tonight, we've got the cross-platform shooter Slightly Heroes is now live, Doom 25-year anniversary and its special expansion, Smash gets a noise complaint, and PlayStation Classic hacks. And let's get into it. So I think Jim's happy. We're one step closer to the cross-platform era. A new game, Slightly Heroes, is out now, and it's cross-platform compatible. And Doom, a game from at least my childhood, maybe not Jim's, you're old, hits 25 years, and a new expansion is out now to celebrate it. And Jim, you can pick your job, and what do you have for us? Love you, buddy.
First, the revelation that I actually played Doom incessantly the week of my high school graduation. So, yeah, we'll get that out of the way. We'll talk about that more later. But finally did it. Smashing can cause the cops to arrive. Wink. Hacking the PS Classic. It's easy. You can just do it. It's just easy. But first, our friend AznAnimeDude is here. We have questions. So many questions.
Oh boy.
My first one is, where did your name come from?
Right.
Man.
It's a mystery.
Let's go ahead and ignore any potential stereotype and assumptions and let you give us the handle.
But I mean, like these stereotypes are in a way kind of true. I mean, I was literally like maybe like a teenager, and I was like, what would describe me when I was trying to come up with a username? And I was like, well, I'm Filipino, which is in Asia. I am really into anime, and I'm of the male gender. So put them all together. I wondered if it was available. It was, and I've sort of stuck with it ever since.
And that's TRUTalk. That's right. That's all. That's all the truth you can possibly get.
That is. So it is oddly fitting.
So what name do you go by on stream?
Yeah, on stream? I mean, like usually people will just call me Asian. Like whenever I go into like other streams, since a lot of them end up not knowing how to pronounce it properly, I just get a lot of them will just concatenate out the AZN part and just call me Anime Dude or AZN. I'm used to it. People calling me Azin, but
okay.
I mean, like I get all of them, so I'm just used to it by now.
Okay, but what do you prefer? Like, if somebody was to call you by your correct nickname. Well, that's the real hard question, guys.
That is the real hard. No. Most people, I would probably just have them like call me Anime Dude or just Asian, which I mean, as weird as it sounds to just call me Asian.
Yeah, but that's all the memes, man. That's channel memes for you.
That is actually true. Yes, I am Asian. You may call me Asian, as if I'm like giving them permission. I'm giving you permission to call me my race.
And it's bound to cause some degree of like discomfort for the people. I can it's fine. Like yeah. But still, even with the clarification of what you prefer to be called, like that may be the most succinct username explanation we've ever had, and it makes perfect sense. Like it's not some convoluted story of like, well, I was in Asia at the time, and this guy was like, dude, and I went, what? And I heard like this Robotech theme in the background, and it just came to me. Like it wasn't like some weird convoluted thing. I dig that.
Sometimes I wish I had a story as interesting as that, but no, I was just Asian.
Well, now you do have that story.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't plan it out this way, but it ended up being this way, which works out.
Everything involving Robotech, I'm in, but whatever. But like, obviously, you're in it for the lulls. You have a great sense of humor about what you do and how you do it. But what keeps you going? Like, what day to day, week to week? Like, what keeps you streaming? Like, what's the drive for you?
Man, I mean, I guess it's just because like when I started doing this, like it was literally just like I play games anyway. I might as well just go live and see if anyone is willing to just hang out with me. And I guess what keeps me going is just the thought that if there's at least like maybe just like one more person that I can like meet online, or just like someone who just like comes in and just like even just like says hi, like usually just ends up making my day and making my stream and making me feel like, you know what, this isn't something too bad to be doing. And so I guess it's just like that. Just like I guess just being able to make connections on Twitch, meeting new people.
I have
you
a
hear that
really
a lot around here.
I have a really good transition off of connecting new people together. Ready for this, Jim? Speaking of connecting people together, cross-platform. It's a thing. Did you like that? Did you like that?
I did actually. That was actually not cringy. It really was good.
20 podcast episodes together, and I finally don't make Jim cringe in a transition. But that brings us.
The episode's not over.
Yeah.
Don't claim that yet. I'm sure it'll get there.
So, but that does bring us to our first topic, and I really would like to. Yes. I know, Jim, you're gonna have a lot to say about this because of your excitement for the potential with it. But
yeah,
we've got an indie developer, right? Hat Rabbit Entertainment is a pretty cool name. Have a new game out called Slightly Heroes. It's just a first person shooter. It's cross-platform compatible. Graphics wise, it kind of has a Fortnite feel to it, or TF2 kind of feel.
Yeah, it was very Pixar influenced.
Like that.
And initially, I was like, "Ooh, cross-platform." I looked in the article a bit more, and where it's even more exciting is cross-platform VR. So it's available on Oculus Go, Rift, the HTC Vive. It goes mobile with Samsung Gear VR, Google Daydream, Windows Mixed Reality, and then the new Lenovo Mirage Solo. Like you can just play it across almost anything.
Wow, that's quite the range.
Yes, and with the PlayStation recently being more open to crossplay in general, and the fact that they've had PC-related VR stuff go on their platform before, I think it's a shoe-in they'll eventually get it to the PlayStation VR as well. But as cool as it would have been for this to have been PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever, just a regular game, cross-platform VR hadn't yet happened. This is the first one as far as I know.
Wow.
You could have games that were compatible. The idea of them having like multiplayer shooter in VR is just like altogether. That's and moreover to have like the mobile VR involved too is like holy crap. That's it boggles the mind. I don't know if it's because of the graphic style or if it's a lot of server side trickery. I have no idea. But just the idea that they're able to do this, and in a situation where a relatively small base, where they've been fighting for exclusive, I can't say that word, exclusive titles, we'll say, right? Because in the early days of VR especially, it was really like Oculus was really like hanging on tight to the titles they had. Vive didn't really have a ton of things that were exclusive to it in the sense that they weren't ever going to be developed for Oculus, but there was no point in developing them also for Oculus. They were available in Steam VR because they're supposed to be able to use Oculus in Steam. We created this divide that didn't need to be there, and to see this right off the bat, barely 2 years, not quite 3 years into it, it's really telling and hopeful for the future of that type of platform, because VR needs to get as much love as it can. It really got me excited. Looks like a fun little game. It's relatively inexpensive too. Like right now, it's like more like $10 US.
Yeah, I was gonna say
maybe?
$10 US.
Yeah,
I think that's close. That's kind of accurate. It's on discount. It's normally $10. I think roughly
right.
$7 and £7.19, whatever. I don't know how to. I don't know how to. I can't speak British money, but it's $5.75 right now. I think is the sale price. But that's what I was gonna say. Was pretty cool. One, it exists, right? Cross-platform play exists. Two, it's an interesting dynamic to bring it into the VR world, right? And three, it's not like a $60 price point where you're not sure if you really want to get into it and play it, but now you get a chance to get in for I mean, not a lot of people in the gaming world are really gonna fret over losing $10 on a game that they played a little bit. A lot of people will complain about $60.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty good.
Yeah.
That one of the first like really, really cross-platform games is something that's super accessible financially.
yes.
So yeah,
You don't see
that'll
that a
make people
lot.
more willing to do it. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and when you like, for example, let's say that because there's newer versions of the Vive that have come out, they're teasing some new Oculus stuff. I imagine that on some Christmas lists, there's going to be some VR stuff because the prices are going down with the hardware. It's more accessible than ever. But as someone who went through the early adoption and paid a full $900 for a Vive, getting games was like, oh crap, I got to buy games too. And luckily, because it was so early, a lot of the stuff that was in development at the time was really cheap because people were just trying to get it off the shelf. And I got lucky. But for someone now where there's so much arguably like AAA value games out there, to be able to say, okay, all right, Johnny, here's your new VR platform, whatever it may be. You just may have gotten them a Samsung one. And there's not a ton of really robust games for it. But his buddy has an Oculus or a Vive or something. Or dad has a Vive and we can get him a Samsung mobile VR and say, well, here's a Steam gift card or whatever, platform he buys it from. You can now get this game and we can play it together. So it's like, it's doing this to create presumably a strong base of players that will hopefully keep it alive, because there's been a few multiplayer shooters in the VR spectrum, but it's been really difficult to keep people interested in those shooters. And I think that taking a nod from Fortnite, but also going cross-platform like Fortnite, I think is really smart and may bring younger people into the VR spectrum because it's affordable and it's accessible, which is
The only
that's what you
VR
look
game I
for.
know about is Beat Saber.
That's a great game, man.
Do you play it? Have
That
you
is
played
great.
it?
I think I own it, but I've never booted it. I'm sitting on 300 VR games, of which I've played maybe 20, 30. I just haven't, I don't have the space right now to play them.
Oh, the physical
I
space
will.
in a room, yeah.
Right. Because when I first got the VR together, I had it in a room that I had designed from the ground up. Like the whole room was like cased with equipment, but the center of the room was just flat rug, and you could just do VR and stuff. And
Nice.
but then I started having panic attacks, and I was like, I'm not putting that thing on, man. If I freak out in VR, I'll die in real life. Like it was weird. I stopped, and then things that occurred with what I was doing with the format of my stream, to where now I went back to green screen and stuff. I don't want to call this stuff down and do VR, but I'll eventually get there.
I wonder if they're ever gonna have Doom on VR platforms.
Ooh.
They actually, Doom VR is a thing. They actually did a VR version of the update to Doom, but the original Doom still remains a gigantic classic 25 years ago.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Meatball served right up.
That's right. That's right. Like the Kako demon in the game itself, it looks like a horned meatball. The cringe just keeps on rolling here, guys, on TRUTalk. But this week, not only has it announced that they're doing like this cool fan club thing to celebrate, but the co-creator John Romero of the game, he's putting out a new expansion for Doom. They're just gonna do an expansion for the original Doom. There's been mods upon mods upon mods, and like player created levels and stuff for years, but for one of the original creators to go back and add content after 25 years is like, it's crazy. And it's called Sigil, and it's supposed to pick up after the events of the Thy Flesh Consumed levels. So 9 new levels, a lot of the same stuff. There's new deathmatch stuff in there as well. It's really cool. And they're doing some cool promotional stuff with it, where they've got certain kinds of you can get it like a floppy disk looking USB drive, and you get like the soundtrack, and you get some stickers. Super. And this isn't really retro to me, because this was new when it came out to me. I grew up on Atari and Nintendo, so Doom was like, oh my god, this is insane. And then I played Doom in 2016 and said the same thing. But you know, Doom is Doom. But it's cool. It's something that we're actually getting. Like you know, this is, to me, this is on par with having heard they were going to make the Avengers in theaters. Something I never thought I'd see. And to get new official Doom content 25 years after I played it, to get through the agonizing few days after my wisdom teeth being pulled, I literally listened to heavy metal, played Doom, and spit blood into a bucket for 3 days. It doesn't get much more awesome than that.
I'm pretty sure your character might have been doing that too.
Yeah, probably.
like,
That's the real immersion right there.
Right. That's right.
So you're gonna get, it's insane what they're doing here, because, well, unfortunately you have to actually have the original game, I think is what it says. But
you can get it through Steam right now.
Yeah. But what they're gonna do, if you get their standard edition, it's a floppy disk themed USB, just to bring it back to those days of having that little floppy disk. And it was command prompt. You had to go to the DOS prompt to load it, didn't you? Just like Chuck Yeager and TIE Fighter and all those games.
Yeah.
So
unless you had like a launcher, like my dad was too cheap to pay for Windows, so he always had all these different file organization things. Like he had like Xtree Gold and other thing. I didn't know what it's called, but it was a shareware program where what it would do. I only had to remember one command prompt, and that was to get into the program. And then the menus were all driven by numeric keypad. It was basically really primitive macros. So I had a little post-it pad of the numeric code for each game. So like Doom would be under shooters, id, Doom. So it'd be like, 316 or something. And Wing Commander be under Flight Sims, and then Origin, Wing Commander, stuff like that. So I just have it all.
I remember Wing Commander.
I love me some Wing Commander, dude. I have them all.
TIE Fighter? TIE Fighter was fun. You had to actually fly the training missions? No,
yeah.
Not compared to Wing Commander.
Super Trolley.
Yeah.
Like the game just like it was really slow. Like you all right, this is really cool. And you have to like turn around like, okay, I'm gonna come back around with another pass. Okay, buddy. I feel like if they did a movie about that kind of experience, like the pilot that isn't in the big battles, and he only comes across other fighters every like 3 hours, and so he's just like this long trilogy where there's only about 15 total minutes of battle, and the rest of it seems to be flying through space.
Oh man,
that would really cool. But those were good games. They're really well done, and there's so many games from that era that spoke to and influenced so many other things that came later, and are remembered fondly. And I hope that this begins, more things like this that don't just harken back to something like a Doom remake, but an actual love letter to the actual original game. And sometimes you love something so much you can't help but take notice. Even if you're there for another reason, like say you were called to a place because there was too much noise.
They were smashing too hard, Jim.
See, I was hoping you wouldn't bring this millennial crap into it, but okay, that's fine. Fine.
I don't know what you're talking about, because smashing to me is playing Smash Brothers, because that's the next topic, isn't it? I mean, what are you talking about?
I don't know.
Isn't that what they mean when you say you want to smash?
That's what I thought.
I really would hope so. The first time I heard that phrase, that's what I thought they meant, and I'm like, that's weird.
You could argue that generationally we might be like one step apart, but also a lot of similarities in some of the stuff. I had the same thought. Whenever I hear people, and even now, I hear people joking, talking about Smash, and I'm like, okay, they really like Nintendo games.
I know.
Right, like if you think about the context of it, like, wow, she's really hot, would Smash. I'm like, you want to play her in Smash Brothers? Like,
I know. I was like, which one? Melee, Brawl?
Would be the best Nintendo commercial ever. That would be an amazing Nintendo commercial. Think about it. Think about it. Especially now that it's on, that they've got Smash on the Switch, right? You just have a guy walking down the street, and there's like a little cafe. Hang on, go with me. There's a little cafe.
Smash.
That's right.
I got a Switch.
He could be walking down the street with his buddies, and he looks and there's a little cafe table. There's a girl sitting there. She's kind of got a little. She's pretty and catches his eye. He turns and looks, and they're like, "Oh man!" And she winks at him and, "Oh man, I'd smash her," or whatever the phrase is. And then all of a sudden, boom, cut
whatever
scenes.
you kids say when y'all want to.
Whatever y'all kids say. That's right. And then he cut scenes, and they're in the living room playing Smash Brothers. Boom.
Completely wholesome.
Yeah.
Come on,
so
you guys would buy that game.
There were some people that were engaging in the act of smashing. A little too loud. Cops got called, and when they showed up, they were like, "Hey, you're being a little loud. What are you guys playing?" They're like, "You want to play some Smash Brothers?" And they got some pictures and tweeted out the police playing Smash Brothers with them. And apparently they were really good at the game.
Without getting too far down a political path, the picture that I'm looking at, stereotypically, when you have a report of loud noises and screaming and stuff going on, you would not expect a very welcome greeting at the door. And the fact that this story ended up like with a happy kind of playful ending, that they're doing that, and again, I don't want to open that door necessarily, but
sure,
this is on many levels fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To even go even further with it, like the cops kind of trolled them a bit. They're like, "How do you jump?" And then it turned out they were like really good at the game and just trounced them for a couple rounds and stuff. I think that's cool. Like that's the kind of thing. Like I had a similar experience when I was around 19, and I was partying with some friends in a hotel room. We were a little bit too loud, and I had recently bought a PlayStation, and I had it in the hotel room. We were playing Mortal Kombat, and I was scared to death because the cops were. I thought they were gonna get me for something, and they were really cool. They're like, "What are you guys playing?" And they're like, "Mortal Kombat." And they're like, "Mortal Kombat." They came in and they played it. So that happened to me like 20 some years ago. And it's interesting that in today's day and age that can still, happen. Like they're in a situation which is normally really tense and scary, even if it's just for a noise complaint, for it to end up like that, it's really cool. And it speaks volumes to the fact that people are still human. Whether they're gamers or police or whatever.
Well, the article actually ends with that too. When the officers, here's the closing paragraph. I won't read all of it necessarily, but the guy said he was pretty concerned when they arrived, because it's concerning. You see so many videos of terrible results and people ending up hurt or in jail and stuff like that. And these cops just came in, and I hate to say it, but when growing up, video games were not necessarily as welcoming or as welcome to our parents and stuff like that. They didn't always understand it, but now with the way social media is, Twitch platforms, Mixer, all the other platforms, people being able to play games, it's actually opening another dynamic. People that are, I want to say, socially inept, would that maybe be an appropriate way of describing some people who are awkward socially? This allows them a chance to expand friendships, grow friendships, and all that. I'm not saying put your butt on a couch and play games all day. Get outside and climb a tree or something like that, like we did as kids, or throw eggs at someone's house. Not necessarily promoting that, but go do something fun.
Or get a standing desk and play.
Yeah, there you go. But it's a different lifestyle now. Yeah, it's a different lifestyle now, and I think it's great. And Asian, not knowing your age necessarily. Did you grow up on Smash? Is this a game you got into?
Smash? I did kind of grow up on it. I didn't play it nearly as much as my friends did, so they always trounced me. But I tried to hold my own at least a little bit. I started off with, I was around when like 64 came out, and I never really branched out after that, just because I never really had that many consoles as a kid, besides like maybe like a 64 and like a SNES. But I did enjoy a little bit of Smash every once in a while.
I started on an Atari, went into Nintendo, and then worked my way up the PlayStation tree. So I never got into the Nintendo games, the party games. So what, Mario Party, Mario Kart,
Oh
Smash
man.
Brothers. Never got into those.
Oh man, those are nostalgias though.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like for me, the original Ninja Gaiden is the nostalgia trip, and there's less and less people over time that remember playing that game. Like the thing is that game, there's no way to hide age, because right in the very title screen before it even gets to this, it says Tecmo presents 1989.
Oh.
And I remember when it was brand new. I was in middle school.
Oh man,
love that game.
Tecmo Bowl.
Dude, yes. Great game.
I would still love to get some Duck Hunt going. I mean, come on. I would love to see that. VR. Duck Hunt VR would be great.
That's right. I have a Duck Hunt VR. Someone actually coded it.
Oh wow.
It's actually, and it lets you use both two guns, and you can shoot the dog. So it is a lot of fun. It's great. It's good. Speaking of wanting to reclaim nostalgia, okay, there's been a rash of these video game classic consoles with varying results, both with critics and fans alike. And Sony has been wanting to jump on that, and they've made a misstep over and over and over. They've picked the wrong games. They're doing it at the wrong refresh rate by using PAL. And now you come to find out the PlayStation Classic is super easy to hack. There's like no security on it at all. And it's already been cracked. It's been out for like, 8 seconds, and it's already cracked. I don't know why you'd want to break it open, but you can. You can, apparently.
I mean, what exactly are they going to do when you crack a console like this? Like, load more on it, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know what you would actually... I mean, what they're doing, like the goal is to modify the operating system to where there's actually going to be some things that... So you can put games on there in NTSC format instead of PAL. To get other games to load up and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like that probably makes sense.
But my whole thing is this: like, if you want to play PlayStation games, there's a lot of easier ways to do that.
There are ways in which, if you really wanted to play PlayStation games,
they're not hard to come by.
Yeah.
First of all, you can go on eBay and get almost any PlayStation game relatively inexpensively, and you put it into any PS3, and you can play them. So, like, I'm still confused by this move to begin with.
Nostalgia.
Given the games are like right, and I get that they're trying to cash in on nostalgia, but like I have yet to come across anybody who's really excited about the game selection on here.
Well,
so
I think this hack fixes that though, because basically they can get the PlayStation.
You load like whatever games you want.
Yeah,
I know you.
Yeah, but because
I know you could do that with I modded my Wii when I got it, and I was able to like just play games.
Caught that on film.
Oh, great.
Right.
I mean, I don't have that.
Nintendo's going to take your console and never let you touch any Nintendo memorabilia ever again. Didn't we talk about that 2 weeks ago, Jim?
We did. But now they're cool with YouTube. So I mean, if they're cool with YouTube,
all right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did let off a little bit on the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. So
on YouTube, but not in the ROMs. Not at all in the ROMs.
Well, I think that is the concern though. It's not necessarily that the device is hackable and people I think it's what it does is enables the PlayStation Classic to be a medium for you to play those other illegally sourced games. That's all it does.
Yeah.
It makes it too easy for you to source the games.
Which is like I also I understand that, because that's always like whenever like something is cracked, right? Like that's the first thing is everyone's just like, oh, now you can just pirate stuff, and like now you're ruining the revenue for Sony, because now you're not buying their games, you're just getting them. Well,
Sony's ruining the revenue for Sony by not putting the right games on the thing in the first place, or just releasing the entire library for virtual store that should be compatible across all their platforms. So this is on Sony.
Yeah, that's also like a really weird thing.
Like they don't. It's so crazy. I mean, granted, they've got services in place, and they've been doing more and more, like the Crash Bandicoot re-release, and they're doing Crash Team Racing's coming out now as a remake and with online play, which is amazing. I think it's really smart. I just wish they would show a little bit more love for some of these other games, even just throwing them the ROMs on the store for $5 a pop. They make a lot of money. And it shouldn't be too difficult to get licenses for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But apparently, because they threw this together in a hurry with their first party stuff, they didn't bother trying to get licenses for anything that, I mean, even like Pat Contry on his podcast, I'm going to be meta here, mentioning another podcast, but he talked about like maybe it would be smart if they'd had like multiple versions of the PlayStation Classic, one for like fighting games, one for RPGs, one for side scrollers, and so on, and lower the price a bit, lower that thing to $50, and people would buy a couple different ones.
Put them in that special section in like Walmart and Target where you can get the whole retro feel of things, and
Sure. But they won't do that because that would be smart, But it's just one more instance of being a little bit. And Grant, let's be fair. Like they're towards the end of this console generation. They've got fatter fish to fry, and I just feel like for all the money they're spending on the marketing and creating these physical things, they could have put that money into doing something that will sell more PlayStation 4s.
They don't even really need. They don't even really need to make different consoles for the PS Classic to enable this. Nope. I mean, we all remember you had the little memory card, right? That was a 128 megabyte card, or like they were tiny cards. But with the technology these days, the Classic is just a solid computer chip that reads data, and you just sell the memory cards for like $20-$30 a piece, and there's your fighting style.
Yeah, you could have made a USB card that looks like a PlayStation, plug it into your PlayStation 4, and off to the races you go.
Like what Doom did with a floppy inspired.
Yeah, good.
Somebody's been paying attention to the podcast. He's going to pass the quiz at the end.
Yes.
That's right. Don't tell him what happens if he fails, though. Don't, because that's not going to work.
We know where you live.
Already?
Wow, that got creepy instantly.
That was quick.
Like, it's one thing if I say something ominous because I look like that, but when GamerDad's like, "We know where you live," it's like, "Whoa, shit!" It's like Anthony, Perkins up in this, or Anthony Anthony Perkins, Tony Perkins, that's the guy that played Psycho. Okay, good, yeah.
You went Anthony Perkins and then you went to Anthony Hopkins, then you went back to Anthony Perkins and figured out it was something else.
I mean, either one of those guys would have been fine, V's.
Yeah.
Or,
hello, Clarice.
Or mother,
Yeah.
It all works.
Just don't talk about rubbing the lotion on its skin.
I wasn't going to bring it up. You had to. Excuse me, sir.
Absolutely.
Oh. That's my Jodie Foster impression. Dr. Lecter.
So we've got a little bit of time left. Two of the things I wanted to kind of bring into, and we don't have any articles to really cover with this. I'm going to rely on my experience. Hopefully, Asian, this relates to you a little bit. I hope. I don't know what games you play, but I know that some of this will relate directly to Jim, and I think you know exactly where I'm going. So Fallout 76 and Black Armory for Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have not. I honestly, you're gonna hate me. I have not been in the grind quite often at all, with holiday vacations, stuff like that. So, what are your reactions and thoughts to Black Armory? Because some of the just initial reactions I've seen very briefly is it feels like it was just there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot there. Some people are disappointed. It doesn't really feel. It feels like a waste of time expansion. And I don't know this from personal experience, so I'd like to kind of get you to weigh in since the Armory just recently released.
Short answer is that it was designed to expand the end game. Forsaken was, so if Destiny 2 was a campaign with an end game, Forsaken was an end game with a campaign. Mm-hmm. Bungie's words, not mine. And the annual pass is designed to expand that end game to give you more varied activities to do. Accomplishes that. The one failure that they had was the ease of access on day one to those activities. You're level 600 and you walk into the one of the forges, you're going to get messed up hard. The light level requirement is like 6. The delta starts as like 610. Mm-hmm. And within 24 hours, they're like, you know what? I get it. It was designed to be an end game activity you had to grind for. Maybe we weren't as explicit in how what that was meant to manifest. So here's what we're going to do. They lowered the light requirement by 5, which made it relatively accessible without losing the challenge aspect that you were going to get, meaning that you could walk in within 1 or 2 powerful drops and be effective in there if you were pretty good. There's been a few bugs here and there that are mildly frustrating, but if you're aware of them, you can get around them. And then when you add in that now on top of that, we've got the new holiday, the returning holiday event called The Dawning, which has some cool stuff in it. That makes it all feel a bit more robust. And I think that in a couple weeks' time, when folks are generally 620 to 640 and they're getting close to max level organically, none of the original day one stuff's going to be an issue. Having machine guns back is great. Having more places to go, more avenues for powerful gear, just having choices on what to do. Because I don't particularly like the Dreaming City. That's an unpopular thing to say as a Destiny fan. Like, I just don't enjoy being there. Oh, as someone who plays solo most of the time, I don't like going there.
It felt like it needed a lot of it needed to be multiplayer. Like, you need to have a group with you for that to the interactions to be fun. Otherwise, goes back to a tedious day one grind. Yeah.
With the Forge, I can go in and get match made, and the mechanics are simple enough that once people kind of get an idea of what they're doing, you can get through it. It's not too bad. And as the average light level of a Guardian is going to go up exponentially over the next couple of weeks, matchmaking in that activity is going to be just fine. It'll be a lot of fun. It's something to do. And I think that is something that we were sorely missing, an end-game level activity that is match-made and doesn't take forever. Mm-hmm. And the Forge definitely fulfills that, gives you more stuff to do, gives you avenues specific to weapons. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. And I think that it's fine. Nothing that is wrong with the Black Armory can't be fixed or hasn't already been fixed.
So this isn't like a Destiny 2 initial release where people were really let down. It's, just not the lack of awareness or the lack of lack of awareness of what to expect. Okay.
Because they basically went from this idea of each expansion was like this big sandwich you get. May take you a while to eat it, but when the sandwich is done, that's it. There's no sandwich. They're going to this thing where they're spreading out the content like a buffet. Again, using their words. So they're trying to give you stuff to do over time, give you things to shoot for, and just give you more to do. Like, people have this thing that when new content comes out for a game, for some reason, they forget that all the other content exists. Just like with like a music artist, okay? New album comes out, it's different than the last one. People are like, and I'm like, think about it. When they play live, which is what most bands do, those albums still exist. They're still going to play those songs live. And if you think about it, this new album in the mix with all the other songs, does it fit well? Does it create variety? Does it make them not feel boring? Unless you're 6 Feet Under or AC/DC, you can't really get away with putting out the same damn record every other year. You can't do it. And even 6 Feet Under, stop doing that, which is good because they're getting boring. But, so I feel like with the game, it's the same thing where you've still got a power grind. Doesn't drastically change how you get to that power level. It's not as high of a grind as it was from year one Destiny 2 into Forsaken. We had to climb over 200 light. That's insane. And now it's a 50 grind. I'm already at 620 and I'm not really going crazy trying to find it.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing.
Asian, did you get into Destiny?
I got into Destiny late, and so when I started playing it, and it felt like a big grind for me to get stuff, just because I didn't really have many people that that played it. I hadn't really gotten involved in TRUgaming yet, so I had really no one to play with, and I was just like, I don't know if I really want to invest a grind into a game, because I used to be really big into Guild Wars back when it was a big thing, and that was something that consumed all my days, and I was like, I don't know if I have the mental fortitude to do the grind. And now that I'm not a high school kid that can afford to just not that I did, I was a good student, of course, but spend my not school hours playing, I just didn't feel like I could invest myself
Mhm.
into Destiny. I
But
still have it. I
for
still enjoy it
folks-
every once in a while. But
For
yeah.
folks like you, there's a patch that came out today that addresses that exact problem. If you haven't hit the previous cap, moving forward, starting today and moving forward, you get a higher rate of high value prime engrams built into the code, so that when you hit end game levels, you'll level up faster. You'll level up faster. Without it feeling like an easy button, you'll get rewards more often, so that you can condense your gameplay. Because there's a lot of people in Destiny and like the Division and other games like it, like part timers that only play like 2-3 hours a week. Not no lifers like myself that will do 3, 4 to 6 streams a week and play Destiny the whole time. And then also when I'm working from home, like I'll throw in a few matches here and there. And I have over 1,200 hours in Destiny 2, barely a year into its release, comparative to 3,000 for the entire release life of Destiny 1. So Destiny 2 is on par for me to be playing more of it, even given the slow start of the game last year. So hop in. If it's fun, play it. That's the thing with Destiny, is if it's fun, play it, and you'll eventually get there. Like they put in the mechanics now versus like Destiny 1, where it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't really going to happen if you're playing by yourself.
So another game that I feel like lifers, we'll call them, because you're a Destiny lifer. Let's be honest, Jim, right? There's another game.
I will cry incessant salty tears the day the Destiny servers go down.
Yeah. Fallout is kind of a game that has brought its own following. Do you play this at all, Asian? Did you get into Fallout ever?
No, actually, I'm aware of like Fallout, but no, I just never really got into it as much.
76 is out, and you always I don't, unless you absolutely can't stand the production company, you always hate to see companies coming out spinning their wheels when a game releases, and they've been making I would say they've been getting aggressive with patches and with the bad publicity to try and put a stop to it and really produce a good game, or try and get us back to what could be or should be a good game. So they just released some new patches today. Last weekend today they just released patches. So stash limits. Imagine if you had a very restrictive limit to how much gear you can store in your vault. I know that the vault has a limit in Destiny, but imagine if that limit was about 25% of what you've got now.
Right.
Which
we've had less than that before.
Yeah.
Original vault in Destiny 1 was like 30 slots total.
Yeah. So they've expanded their stash limit. They're making all these changes. I think where I was going with this was just talking about games that have started slow, that have really made a comeback, because I would say Destiny 2, even a year in, is probably still one of the most playable games of its genre, right? Of the first-person shooter type, it is probably one of the most playable and replayable types. I'm hoping to see Fallout go that way, but they keep making a lot of changes. So apart from you guys not really being into the games, knowing what they're changing here, right? They're really listening to their audience and changing what the gamers want. Personally, being in the game, I was opposed to the stash limit increase for other reasons. But they're changing what a lot of the gamers want. Do you guys see a risk to a production company of just listening to what the gamers want and producing the game that their gamers want versus the game that they intended? Like, do you see that?
Yeah, and the result is called Vanilla Destiny 2. That's what Vanilla Destiny 2 was. Gamers wanted it to be more accessible for the casual player, that they could invest as little or as much time as they wanted and get what they needed. And what we got was a very bland, banal loot pool, with like it just, there was no, unless you really wanted to grind in raids over and over again or play PvP quite often, there wasn't a reason to just go in and play. There wasn't. They took all of the spark out of it. I feel like there's a risk with that with Fallout 76 as well. That said, with the state that game shipped in, that took a lot of hardcore fans of that game, and just they were very unhappy.
Yep.
So I feel like it's a slightly different situation where you don't want to swing the pendulum too far in any one direction. But I think that with a game that was designed to be Fallout, but in a persistent online world where you could interact with people, relatively simple concept that should have been relatively easy to execute. And I think they failed on a lot of points with that. And as a result of that, I think it's the smart move to say, okay, what were you expecting? And try to get things closer to that, and then worry about the balancing act for Fallout later.
And I feel like the balancing is coming now. Like the
Mhm.
patch this week was very impressive.
Yeah.
So first of all, since it's a survival-based game, resources are very limited. I strongly believe you should have less ability to bulk store lots of items. You should have a limit to how much you could store, because it's a limited resource wasteland. But one of the things, for example, the 308 ammunition for a very common firearm that you would use in the game, you were getting like a dozen bullets off of a dead body here and there when you would like kill a super mutant or kill a scorched, which is just a brainless zombie kind of thing that has a pipe pistol. You should get like 2 or 3 bullets, not a dozen, right?
Right.
And so you got people like me walking around with nearly 2,000 rounds of ammunition in a survival game. That's not normal. So like they're figuring.
Yeah, you're
that
really
out.
struggling
It
there,
doesn't
aren't you?
fulfill the fantasy you're trying to
Right.
gender.
Mhm.
And it, based on the context, to me, it sounds like it would take a lot of the enjoyment out of the game, because you want to be able to say, hey, I got by on 3 bullets for like 3 days, and I have to pick my shots and be careful with what engagements I do and don't make.
Right.
When that's supposed to be what Fallout is about, and you've taken that away, I get that.
Yeah, because you go
But
fight
I
5
also,
super mutants and you have 60 bullets. That when you pick up a net of 60 bullets when you're done.
right. So and this is almost exactly like the Destiny 2 situation, because for me, not being a Fallout player, to be able to have that accessibility of going in and know that I'm not going to be like hurting for materials while I learn how to play the game is appealing. But for the person who is deeply invested in the game, wants to use a skill set moving forward, I can definitely see how the long game is going to be adversely negatively affected by a change like that. I agree. I really do.
Yeah, and I can see that, because it's also kind of hard to balance when you want to cater to new players versus also like the more experienced ones, because the new players and the experienced players are probably going to have different things that they want out of the game.
Yep.
And so being able to please both sides is like near impossible.
Near
Like,
impossible. Yeah.
yeah, near impossible, if not impossible, right? And that's also something that a lot of game developers in like competitive games have an issue with, because pro players want one thing, the casual players that just want to do it for fun, like they want other things. And so like it's hard there, because especially like if you're trying to balance the game for pro players, and now the casual players are like everything is hard, or they go to the casual players, and now the pro players are like it's too easy to like make plays and do all these sorts of things. So
Right.
Yeah, and
it is a hard
in
balance.
that place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. I thought it, since we had some time, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about those comparisons, to see games kind of slow out the gate and their chance to either make it or break it. So
but it is good that they are
Mhm.
that they have shown that they're willing to listen. I mean, it's better than just
Yep.
being like, you will take this and you will like it.
And they've actually done some things to dial back the ease of gameplay. One really cool thing that they changed was, Jim, my analogy here would be equating it to Gambit matches.
Okay.
Like, so if you're playing a Gambit match and you're one of your partners kills a character and you go pick up the motes. Imagine if each of those motes you pick up generates XP. So you pick up 5 emotes, you get experience just for picking them up. You did nothing. Similar to that, in Fallout, where you have different locations like a junkyard or a ruined power plant, and they're open workshops that you can actually take over and use them as like a separate base for resource generation. And when you would build things, you have your own separate resource pool that is just used in that location. You don't have the resources; the game gives them to you. You're using the free resources that the game provides to build stuff, and you're getting experience for constructing a base that you're going to lose the moment you log out of the game. So you log in, you take over the base, which takes 5 minutes. Super easy. You kill a couple of mobs. You own it. You build a bunch of wooden floors. You get a bunch of experience. Log out. Repeat. Because it's kind of like a PvP aspect that you can fight with other people to hold those bases. And they're like, no, we're going to take away the experience you get for building wooden floors and crafting things when you're not even using your own resources to build it. So, yeah,
right.
Got more difficult. So it was pretty cool. I think they're learning, and they're learning to grow with their community, which is going to bring me to the announcement that we were teasing at the beginning. In that same regard of learning to grow with our communities, and kind of expand things after some talks with some of the employees at TRUgaming, we are going to have a slight transition of how TRUTalk is going to be run going in the future. And Jim and I are going to be giving the ownership over to someone named Mr. Pure Instinct, who I don't know if he's announced it yet, but is very quickly kind of getting more involved in the TRUgaming community. So Jim, you and I, we've done about 20 episodes. We're coming up on 21 next week with our closeout. We hope to have MPI on next week. If not, we're still working on locking in a guest. But we're gonna take some time next week to kind of run through the year, a year in review, kind of like our end of year, because the following Tuesday is Christmas, the following Tuesday is New Year's, so we're not really gonna, holidays in the way, we're not gonna have any more casts this year, and we're gonna let MPI bring us into January with what we'll call season 3 of TRUTalk. It's been a lot of fun with you, and I think that that you and I are still gonna have a pretty good connection outside of TRUTalk. I encourage everybody to check out Jim and keep up with me. But with growing in TRUgaming, a lot of people who know me know that I'm a creative streamer, or now an art streamer, and sometimes makers and crafting. What we're going to do is actually expand the TRUgaming podcast series to bring in a creative podcast. Still trying to build it out, still trying to work on the details, but it's probably going to cover the hobby side of Twitch, to talk about maybe some how-tos, not necessarily all tutorial based, maybe some news around creative stuff that's happening and everything like that. So that's going to be growing. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to have MPI come in. It's just I think he's going to be really, really good for this podcast, because he's spoken with me before live, and very well versed in the gaming community. Maybe you and I will get to come back and guest with him every once in a while.
Have the tables be turned on you.
Yeah.
And to be 100% clear, because there are people that are going to ask. When GamerDad told me that he was going to be doing this other creative thing, we started talking about where TRUTalk was going to go, because he was concerned about, I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want to put more on your shoulders with this. And I was very grateful for that. But for me, it's like, well, this is meant to be a true branded thing. This is meant to be something that showcases talent and so forth. And I feel like there was a certain tone to this season because he and I were on it together. And I feel like moving forward without him didn't feel right to me, for me. So I feel like the podcast should be an institution, and it should rotate. The more I think about it, I think that this should be a rotation, because every week you had a rotated affiliate. And I think every season probably should rotate partners too, because everyone deserves a chance at the spotlight. And I think that I was very flattered that I was going to be able to continue with the show, but I decided that if GamerDad wasn't here, I didn't want to be here. That's really where it was. And then based on that feeling, logistically, I am going to be suggesting that it be a continued rotation, because it makes a lot of sense. It's a good way to foster growth, encourage people to really make a mark on the show as it goes forward. And it'll be something that makes it something that has the ability to expand.
Yep.
And it's going to keep people from having burnout, from doing it, because, we haven't been doing this the entire year. We had, like, I don't know, I ripped my ears off by now.
21 weeks of podcasting and in most cases consecutive. I think we skipped 1 week because I was sick, 1 week because of vacation, and 1 week because of Thanksgiving. But for the most part,
That's it.
and you've done one less episode than I have because you had some family stuff going on. So I mean, it's just we've had the same face, the same style, and all that. And that's one of the things that we're going to try and hand off to MPI. We're going to make sure that we show him what our style was. We're going to allow him to bring his own style in, so no season will be exactly the same. Maybe the core foundation will be there, gaming news, current events, entertainment news, and stuff like that. We haven't really talked about movies too much lately, but those will be out there. Hopefully we can still have it partner run and affiliate supported, so we can have that introduction of different True affiliates. But in the end, what the hosts will get to talk about will be what they choose. Like, we're not going to give them any rules. We'll give them the formats, whatever, and then say this is yours. But when we were talking about who to pick and we were talking about where to go with this, we made sure that one, Jim and I aren't just saying goodbye everybody, we're done, we don't care what happens in the future. We both still care about this, and we're going to be happy to see someone that we trust taking over. At the same time, we wanted to go to somebody who's also going to have the same respect for season 1, which had Pims and White Shadow and various other guests coming on. They started this, and then Jim and I, something that we picked up for season 2, we want to find somebody that we can hand it to that will care about it as much as we all did previously.
Exactly. And certainly, to kind of break tradition, I am going to directly respond to something from chat. The question was, from Lennian, will he still have the amazing lead-ins from one topic to the next?
Nobody can be as cringeworthy as us.
No, can't be done. However, we will describe the dad cringe, where it comes from. From my age, GamerDad from his name, and partially his age. It's difficult to produce that out of thin air. However, we will try to teach the ways. We will attempt to pass down the cringy lightsaber, but I can't make any promise. Maybe they'll be worse. Maybe they'll be better. I don't know. He's like, I'm out.
Although I will tell you,
no transitions. I'm done.
I've done work with MPI in the past. He has. Let's just put it this way.
Tremendous cringe.
I see.
Tremendous cringe.
I see much potential in this young Padawan. I'll put it that way. How about that? We'll go Star Wars with it. I think, you know what? I think he brings a lot of Jim style and my style at the same time. Like, he's a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy him.
Yeah.
Yep. He changed his mind. Oh, who am I kidding? I'll be here. There will be a schedule change. The nights that it's run might be changing, but we are gonna hopefully see TRUTalk continue with a regular schedule. I think given availability, we might start to see these podcasts run on more partner-driven channels as opposed to the TRUgaming channel to make it easier. One of the awkward things, and we're gonna I'm gonna reach out and try and get feedback from viewers after the season ends. One of the things we notice is that sometimes it was just a little awkward for me to leave my channel and come to this channel that nobody watching this channel is used to seeing myself and Jim. If Jim were to go live on his channel with this podcast, or I were to go live on mine, you'd have your community base with the ability to build in from TRUgaming, and that's something that we're going to explore in the Creative Podcast, and more than likely the TRUTalk podcast. So,
it's something that's it's going to vary from season to season because, for example, I know for a fact if we'd have hosted this on my channel, there would not have been much of a gain there, for the simple fact that my community reached out to me earlier this year and said, we're kind of tired of the podcast. Can you go back to what you were doing? Like, we still like to have your discussions, but the formal podcast format takes you out of your element, because I'm known for being a really interactive streamer. That's the kind of content I created. It's a lot of interaction. So for them, it was my immersion. Like, it was very weird for them. They were watching a YouTube video, and they don't like that. My community doesn't like that. But if there's a community, from a creator that's going to be doing this, from a true partner, I think it's a good opportunity. And I think being able to be flexible, to do this, I think is smart. But always having that option to come back to the TRUgaming channel is going to be cool. We don't know how that's going to manifest, but to have the option and the format to be kind of fluid is part of what's going to make this cool.
Yeah, Yeah, and I'm excited for it, and I think I'm done making Asian feel a little awkward of just being in the middle of the news.
I'm listening
I
too.
was digging it though. Like the sweat was real. I liked it. I was like, oh god, are they gonna kiss?
No.
Are they gonna kiss?
What?
We're not leaving yet. We still got
How
one
much
more.
longer am I gonna be this
Yeah.
third wheel?
Like
No.
God, shut up.
And that is why, with our year in review, our season ending episode, that is why Jim's favorite part of the outro is extremely important this time.
Yes, that's true.
Go ahead and lead in with it. I'm trying to open the door for you.
I get it, but I'm trying to stay in the room, man. Maybe I'm not ready to leave.
Oh.
If you have a podcast,
podcast.
Here we go.
Here's the
Here it is.
podcast.
Here it is, guys. Here's the podcast. If you have a podcast topic you'd like for us to discuss on the show, email us at TRUTalk@TRUgaming.com or go to our website, TRUgaming.com, and social media links to contact us.
I would even add in there, if you've got any memories that you've seen through the podcast this season, or even from season 1, throw those out at us too on that email address. I'd love to try and incorporate those or bring them up, see if I can find clips or anything like that. And remember it's contagious. Remember to subscribe to our channels via YouTube, Twitch, iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and now on Spotify. Spreaker. The season will be posted. Yeah, the season will be posted very soon. The whole rest of the season will be available for everybody in the near future.
Yep. And we'll be back next week for the season ender. And it'll be our farewell episode. It's a bit weird, but in the meantime, make sure you check out the Discord at discord.gg/TRUgaming and tell all your friends about the podcast. The exciting things coming to the show.
Yeah. And Asian, it's been a lot of fun making you feel awkward while we have our little bromance. But thank you for jumping in. Appreciate you being here.
No, thank you for having me. I'm glad I was able to join in at least once.
It's a good one.
Yep. It was a really good conversation. We thank everybody for being here. And for those of you listening live, thank you for your support. For those of you listening in on the recording, keep with it. Keep with us. We'll see you around, and look forward to producing that season finale and introducing you to the new future of TRUTalk. And I'm going to save my normal annoying piece for Jim for next week because I'm really hoping to get a good one next week. So I will just say goodnight to everybody and say thank you very much.
No.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. See, this is it's surreal already. Thank you very much, everybody. You guys have a great night, and we will talk to you in a week.
Cheers, guys.
Da ba da, da ba dee da dee.